If you've made it this far, thank you for joining Emily and Elliot's journey tonight. I'd love to know, where in the world are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. It always warms my heart to see how far these stories travel. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you won't miss tomorrow's chapter. Because trust me, the next story will tug at your heart even deeper. One story, one night, every night, right here. Emily Carter never believed in perfect love stories. But when she met Logan Brooks for a brief moment, she thought maybe, just maybe, hers was about to begin. Logan wasn't just charming, he was magnetic. The way he spoke, the way he looked at her like she was the only woman in the room, it swept Emily off her feet. He made her laugh, made her feel seen, made her believe that she could finally be someone's first choice. For the first time in years, she let her guard down. She allowed herself to fall. They spent weeks together. Quiet dinners, late-night drives through the Georgia back roads, coffee dates that turned into sunrise talks. Emily thought it was real. She thought he was real. But love has a cruel way of revealing itself. One evening, Emily decided to surprise Logan with tickets to a jazz show he mentioned loving. She stopped by his apartment early, flowers in one hand, her heart in the other, only to find the door slightly ajar. Inside, she saw a woman laughing in the kitchen, barefoot and familiar. It was her sister, Vanessa, her own flesh and blood. Realization didn't come all at once. It crashed. It broke through her like a violent storm. They didn't notice her at first, standing there, frozen. But when Vanessa finally turned and met her eyes, it was too late. The truth was already screaming in the silence. Emily didn't say a word. She turned around, walked out, and never looked back. Not that day. That night, she cried like she hadn't cried since childhood. Not because of the betrayal alone, but because she felt stupid, used, like an afterthought in someone else's love story. The pain wasn't just heartbreak, it was humiliation. And worse, she felt invisible, forgotten. But beneath the heartbreak, something else began to burn. Not just pain, but fire. The kind of fire that doesn't destroy but transforms. If they thought she would crumble, they were wrong. If they thought she would disappear quietly, they didn't know her at all. Emily made a promise to herself that night. She would get back at them, not with anger, but with strategy. She wouldn't confront them, not yet. She would be patient. She would play it smart. And so, the game began. Not just to break them the way they broke her, but to find herself in the process. A new version of Emily Carter was being born in the dark, stronger, sharper, and far more dangerous than anyone imagined. It had been 2 months since Emily Carter discovered the betrayal that shattered her world. She hadn't spoken to Vanessa. She hadn't seen Logan, but she knew they were still together. That fact alone kept the fire inside her alive. Emily had a plan. She wasn't going to cause a scene or expose them publicly. Not yet. No. Her revenge would be quiet, calculated, and most importantly, personal. So when she learned that Logan's older brother, Elliot Brooks, was the CEO of a fast-growing tech company and in urgent need of a new executive assistant, she didn't hesitate. Elliot wasn't just a corporate name. He was powerful, respected, and wildly private. He had the kind of reputation that made people straighten their backs the moment he entered a room. But Emily didn't flinch. She dressed smart, sleek pencil skirt, white blouse, deep red lipstick. She walked into Brooks Innovations like she was born for it, and in a way, she was. The waiting room was packed with applicants, but she waited, calmly rehearsing her lines. When her name was finally called, she stood up, smoothed her blouse, and stepped into the lion's den. Elliot Brooks was nothing like Logan. He didn't offer charming smiles or playful eyes. He didn't flirt. He assessed. And when he looked at Emily for the first time, it felt like being X-rayed. His stare cut through the silk and skin, straight into her intentions. "Sit," he said. "Yes, sir," she replied, too quickly, too eager. She hated how her voice trembled. The interview was brief. Elliot wasn't one for small talk. He reviewed her resume, glanced at her once more, and then said, "You start Monday, 8 a.m. Don't be late." Just like that, she was in. But Emily knew the hard part hadn't even begun. She wasn't there just to work. She was there to get close, to understand how the Brooks family worked, how to play them against each other. If she could get inside Elliot's circle, maybe even inside his head, she could strike where it would hurt Logan the most. What she didn't expect, however, was Elliot's energy. He wasn't like Logan at all. Logan was all charm and chaos. Elliot was control, precision, power. The kind of man who didn't need to raise his voice to command a room. And the more time she spent around him, the harder it became to remind herself that this was just a game. Something inside her started to shift. Not quickly, not all at once, but slowly, like a tide pulling her away from the shore of anger and into something far more dangerous. Attraction. Real, intense, unwanted. And Emily Carter had no idea what she was walking into. At first, it was easy to pretend. Emily Carter wore her mask well, always composed, always Miss Carter, with the clipboard in hand and her heels clicking confidently through the marble halls of Brooks Innovations. She kept her focus sharp, her voice even, her smile professional. But inside, things were shifting. Day by day, Elliot Brooks was becoming more than just a pawn in her plan. There was something in the way he looked at her during late meetings, something in how he remembered the small things, her favorite coffee, the music she hummed when stressed, the way her voice dropped when she was hiding something. He noticed. He always noticed, and that terrified her. Emily hadn't planned on caring. She hadn't planned on laughing at his dry humor, or feeling her chest tighten whenever he stood too close. But the most dangerous moment came one Friday evening. They were attending a corporate retreat, just 40 minutes outside the city. A private resort, lush, quiet, and far too romantic for a woman trying to maintain control. After a team dinner, Emily wandered alone by the pool. The moonlight danced on the water. The night was warm, but her chest felt hollow. That hollow space, once filled with rage, was now tangled with guilt and confusion. She saw Logan across the lawn, holding hands with Vanessa. Her stomach churned, her fingers clenched. And just like that, the old fire flared up again. Impulsively, she stepped toward the pool, let out a cry, and pretended to slip. The splash was dramatic. Screams followed. Within seconds, someone jumped in. But it wasn't Logan. It was Elliot. He pulled her up, arms strong, eyes wild with concern. "Emily, are you okay?" She froze. It wasn't supposed to be him. Logan stood at the edge, watching, unsure. Vanessa beside him, pale and tense. Emily realized what she had done. She had crossed a line. Back in her room, she expected anger, coldness, dismissal. Instead, Elliot came to her door. "You could have drowned," he said flatly. "I was just tired. I slipped," she lied. He didn't believe her, but he didn't push. He just looked at her, like he was searching for something beneath all her walls. And in that moment, something cracked inside her. She wasn't the girl, plotting revenge anymore. She wasn't even sure who she was. All she knew was, when Elliot touched her arm and said, "Please, just be careful." His voice sounded like home. That night, Emily sat alone in bed, soaked in guilt. She had tried to break a man who was trying to protect her. She was supposed to ruin the Brooks family. So why did she feel like she was the one falling apart? And worse, falling in love. Elliot Brooks didn't say anything the next morning. No questions, no judgment. But something in his eyes had changed, softer maybe, but watchful. Like he knew she was hiding more than just a clumsy fall into a pool. Emily Carter tried to go back to normal. Clipboard, coffee, deadlines. But the mask was slipping. Every time she passed Elliot in the hallway, her breath caught. Every time he looked at her, she felt exposed. Like he could see the cracks forming underneath her calm exterior. The guilt was getting louder. That weekend, Emily stayed late in the office, hoping work would silence her thoughts. But around 9 p.m., the elevator dinged. She turned and froze. Vanessa. Holding Logan's hand, Emily's body went cold. They didn't notice her at first, too wrapped up in themselves. But then Vanessa's eyes locked with hers, and in that moment, the past came crashing back like a tidal wave. The betrayal, the pain, the reason she was even standing in that building. Emily? Logan's voice was hesitant. What are you doing here? What am I doing here? She replied, almost laughing. I work here. Didn't your brother mention me? Vanessa stepped forward. Emily, we didn't mean to hurt you. Save it, Emily snapped. Her voice cracked, not with anger but exhaustion. You already did. And that's when Elliot walked in. The tension in the room thickened instantly. He looked from Emily to Logan to Vanessa. What's going on? No one spoke. So Emily did. I used to be in love with your brother, she confessed. He cheated on me, with her, my own sister. She turned toward Elliot, her voice shaking. I didn't come here for a job. I came here to destroy everything they care about, including you. Silence. Even the air seemed to freeze. Elliot didn't move. His jaw tightened, his gaze locked on her face. But he didn't speak. And that silence hurt more than any word could. I was angry, she whispered. Broken, and I thought revenge would fix that. You used me, he finally said. All this time. Emily nodded, her eyes stinging. At first, yes, but then you made me forget I was even angry. Elliot exhaled slowly. I don't know what hurts more, that you lied to me, or that I believed every version of you was real. She tried to step forward. Elliot, please. But he took a step back. Don't, he said quietly. I need time, Emily. And just like that, he walked away. Emily stood there, shattered, watching, the only person who made her feel whole, walk out of her life. Weeks passed. Emily Carter still showed up to work, early mornings, late nights. But everything felt colder. Not just because of the silence from Elliot Brooks, but because of the silence inside her. The war between guilt and grief had drained her. The revenge she once wore like armor had shattered. And all that was left was regret. She kept her head down, did her job, and kept her distance. Elliot never looked at her the same way. He barely looked at her at all. Then, one afternoon, she got called to the executive boardroom. She entered, confused, only to find Logan and Vanessa already seated. Elliot stood at the head of the table, arms crossed, expression unreadable. Logan stood up. Emily, I owe you an apology. A real one. She said nothing. I hurt you, he continued. I didn't think about what it would cost you. Or us. I thought I was in love. But I know now. I was selfish. Vanessa stepped forward. And I should have never betrayed you. I was wrong. I let my heart choose without thinking about yours. Emily stared at them, unsure if this was closure or another twist in a never-ending story. Elliot cleared his throat. They told me everything. About the past, about how you were trying to heal the wrong way. He paused, his voice quieter. Now, I didn't bring you here to punish you. I brought you here to say that I finally understand. Emily's eyes widened. What do you mean? I mean... Elliot walked toward her. I've been angry, not just at you, but at myself, for trusting too fast, for falling too hard. But truth is, I never fell for the lie. I fell for the woman who showed up anyway, the woman who tried to fix herself while still carrying the weight of the past. Tears welled in her eyes. I thought I lost you. You didn't, he whispered. You just lost yourself for a moment. But I think we both found something real in the middle of all the chaos. He reached for her hand. And if you're still willing to try, I'd like to start again. No lies, no revenge, just us. Emily nodded, barely able to breathe. Yes, she said softly. I want that too. A year later, their garden became a playground. Tiny feet running through the grass, the sound of laughter filling the air. Emily and Elliot, now married, stood hand in hand as they watched their children play beside Logan and Vanessa's. What began in pain ended in peace. Because sometimes, the most broken love stories, when given the chance, become the most beautiful. If this story stirred something in your heart, I want to hear from you. Have you ever experienced betrayal from someone you loved and found yourself lost between hurt and healing, just like Emily? Or maybe, like Elliot, you've been caught between trust and truth, trying to hold on to love while protecting your own heart. Let me know in the comments. Which moment hit you the hardest? Was it when Emily confessed her plan? When Elliot walked away? Or when they finally chose forgiveness and love over pride and pain? I read every single comment, and your stories matter. Sharing your thoughts not only brings this community closer, but helps others realize they're not alone in their battles. Also, don't forget to tell me where you're watching from. City, country, or even your cozy couch. Let's make this a space where stories connect hearts around the world. And if you haven't yet, subscribe to the channel. Tomorrow's story might just be the one that speaks directly to you. Your voice matters. I'm listening.